Hello everyone, welcome to a new video, and today is the July reading wrap-up. As you can see, I have my stack of books here from July. I will be doing these in order from throughout the month, like the first book to the last book that I've read throughout the month. And I would say it was a pretty good reading month. The first book that we're starting off with is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is book one of this trilogy, and I believe it's in the same world as the Carnival series, also by Stephanie Garber, obviously. And I gave this a rating of 4.75 because I really enjoyed it. And the audiobook narrator, or narrators, I can't remember if it has two or not. And then, obviously, we have the second book, The Ballad of Never After. And I also gave this a 4.75 star. And I just probably should try to explain a little bit what the trilogy is about. Not really what each book is about, but the trilogy. So, like, the first book give you, like, an idea of what it is about. So, it's like a fairy tale world, if you will. That's the only way I know how to describe it. It's not a fairy tale retelling, I don't believe. It's more so romantasy. And there is the Prince of Hearts, and his name is Jax. And our main character is Evangeline Fox, and Jax kills anyone he kisses, basically, except for one person. And we all know who that one person is, just because of the main character. I'm not very good at explaining books, I'm very sorry, unless I've reread them 50 million times. I'm trying to get better at explain what books are about, but for this video, it's gonna be not too cute of an explanation. And then there is A Curse for True Love, which is the third and final book in the trilogy. I rated it a 4-star just because I enjoyed it, but at the same time, there's one point of view that was added into the book that I was just not a fan of, because I'm not a fan of that certain character. I'm not going to say who, but if you've read them, I feel like you might know who I'm talking about. And I also just didn't like the narrator voice of that, because that one I purely audiobooked because I do not own it physically, sadly. The reason why I don't own it physically is because the cover that matches these in paperback doesn't come out until next year. And then we have the lovely Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is book 2 of the Powerless trilogy, and essentially what is happening, more so I'll give you like what the first book is about. Our main character is named Peyton, and she is something called an ordinary, where she does not have any powers or magic. And then Kai, who is a prince, he has a wielder ability where he can wield others' powers when they're around. And he is also the enforcer for the king. There are the purging trials, which is essentially games. Think Hunger Games, but like they're not picked out of like a thing of papers, and there's no volunteering as tribute. There's just these people elect you to see you die, and there's a resistance / rebellion, and we basically pick up right where we left off at the end of Powerless with Reckless. And if you don't know, I absolutely Powerless like changed my brain chemistry in a way. It was a 5-star. This one I rated a 4.75 because I did really enjoy it. There were some aspects that I thought could have been better, if you will. Like, I don't know how to explain it without spoiling it, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless, and I'm very excited for the third book, Fearless, and also really enjoyed Powerful as well, which is a novella. And then we have Leather and Lark, which is the second book of the Ruinous Love trilogy, the first one being Butcher and Blackbird. And I gave this a rating of 4 stars because I did really enjoy it, but there's one thing that I was surprised that that's what was going down, you know? Are these what you would call interconnected standalones? I think so. And if you don't know, this is about 2 serial unalivers who fall in love. It's a dark romance with some comedic relief, I guess. I don't know. Because Rowan is a little bit of a golden retriever energy, but at the same time, scary. And this one, since it's interconnected standalone, I feel like I can give you a little bit more explanation of this book itself. It literally says, there's a lot of death. It's a book about a contract killer and a serial killer falling in love, so I feel like that's probably a given, okay? There are trigger/content warnings in the front of both of these books, so make sure you check out that list before actually reading it, especially if you're not a dark romance reader. Like me, I'm not really much of a dark romance reader, but I did really enjoy this first book, so I wanted to pick up the second book because these were the two characters that I was really intrigued by in the first book. And it's very exciting, and I do think I want to reread it like during like the fall time, like maybe in October, just to like really get the ambiance. Also, this is just a random tidbit. Does anyone know how I can fix this issue? It's on the front and the back. It's like the protective film covering, and I don't know why that happened or how it happened, because it didn't happen with this one. But if anyone knows how to fix that, let me know, because it's bugs the crap out of me, especially if I do ever reread this. And then after that, these next books, one of them I might need to go a little bit in depth, but these next books I'm not going to go into too much detail, into too much depth, because these were featured in my most recent video of completing my July TBR before July ends, and I succeeded in that. The first one being Never by Jessa Hastings. This I believe I originally gave it a 4.75. I think I said that's what I gave it in that video, but I changed it to a 4 just simply because of one character that bugged the crap out of me, but also one other aspect that bugged the crap out of me. So, but it is a Peter Pan retelling, and our main character is named Daphne, and there's kind of like a love triangle between Peter Pan and James. Not James. His name's not James. Jameson, Jameson is the son of Captain Hook. It was very enjoyable. It is book 1 of a series trilogy. I don't really know. I don't know anything about the second book yet. And the cliffhanger that this ended on, I need the next one. And next, Girl Abroad by Elle Kennedy, which is a study abroad in London novel, study abroad romance, like a love triangle with one of her roommates who is a rugby player, and then someone who is not a roommate, who is a quote-unquote broody musician with a girlfriend. And I gave it a 3-star because I just could not really connect to any of the characters. For these books, if you want to know more, you can go check out that video. And then we have One of Us Is Next by Karen and McManus, and I gave it a... I gave it a 3.75 because through most of it, I was kind of just like, okay. But like around like chapter 30 to the end is when I really started to get into it. So like it was enjoyable, but I wasn't super into it. I wasn't vibing as much with it. So that's the reason for 3.75. And this is book 2 to One of Us Is Lying. And One of Us Is Lying I really, really heavily enjoyed. So I was a little disappointed with this one, that I didn't really enjoy it as much. But also probably because I went into it expecting to fly through it. I should not have gone into it expecting that. Because I just wish it would have done something different than it did. And then the last book from that video is Capturing the Devil by Carrie Maniscalco. And I unfortunately gave this a 3-star. Because it's the final book of the series, and it is historical fiction, but it's also supposed to have like a mystery aspect to it, and I just didn't feel any of that like I did in the first 3 books, and I just wasn't vibing with like the plot of this one. And I do still recommend this book and the series as a whole. Book 1 being Stalking Jack the Ripper. I do recommend it as a whole, but the entire series I do. But that was just... The series does have like a romance subplot, But this one, it felt like the romance was more at the forefront. Not super at the forefront, but like more at the forefront than the others, and I just wasn't into that. And then the last book is Nine-Tailed by J.C. Lee, and I gave it a 3.75, and this book came out August 1st, but I was able to get it early by having Prime on Amazon, which I thought was really cool that I was able to get it before the release date, because I've never gotten to read anything before it actually releases. And I rated it a 3.75 because I did enjoy, like, the idea, the concept of it. It just had, like, it kind of had insta-love in a way, and that was not my favorite, and I personally didn't feel any chemistry between the two characters. And our main character is a nine-tailed fox, and if you don't know what a nine-tailed fox is, it is essentially like a nine-tailed, like this, who's like a woman but can shift into a nine-tailed fox, which I was really excited when I saw that. I saw the title and I was in the cover, and I was like, oh my gosh, beautiful cover, nine-tailed fox. I love the nine-tailed fox and like all the lore about it. With this book, it's just, I was not the insta-love. Like, that was the main thing that I was like, really? But also, that's the main thing that was like, from like, very, very early on in the book, okay? Very early on. Alright, okay. And those were all of the books that I read in July. I read a total of 10 books. Now, obviously, clearly these aren't 10, because there's like 2 that were not physical. So, the other 2, Kindle, is representing. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know your favorite book that you read in July. And happy August. And let me know the book that you most want to read this month in August. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.